The Week in Review with David Davis. And the EU, who, to be frank, have been quite hard-nosed, not to say pig-headed. Well, welcome to episode 5 of the Week in Review. This week it's about the Northern Ireland Protocol, very topical, about housing, my solutions to the housing problem, and to some of the issues arising with big tech and how it denies consumers what they need to have from their electronic kit. So it's been an interesting week. This month, the Competition and Markets Authority issued this report on mobile ecosystems. Now, in plain English, that's the software and services running on these things, mobile phones and iPads and tablets of various sorts. It found an effective duopoly between Apple and Google. Now, in the Competition Authority's words, Google and Apple hold all the cards when it comes to UK mobile phones. Well, that may sound terribly techy and legalistic, but it has a real-world impact. Just 2 companies determine the rules and standards applying to providers of online content in the UK. Take cloud gaming, for example. Gaming relying on remote processing and online connection rather than the hardware on the device being played on, this thing. Apple's control over app distribution on the App Store has blocked the emergence of iCloud gaming or cloud gaming on iPhones. That means less innovation and therefore a worse experience for consumers or customers. We see the same when it comes to advertising and control of that too. What we're looking forward to, there's a second stage of this inquiry. What we're looking forward to is intervention to improve the service and the marketplace for consumers so that they get what they want, sometimes despite what the tech giants want. Last week, Boris Johnson delivered a speech covering just about everything from Ukraine to energy security and from the cost of living to housing. But perhaps the most interesting thing was what was missing. The Tory manifesto pledge to build 300,000 homes a year by 2025. The simple truth is that in order to solve the housing crisis, we must build more homes. Now, my view on this, we do that by building garden towns and villages, new towns on land that's currently predominantly rural. This will get round one of the key obstacles to house building, so-called NIMBYism, where people sometimes reasonably object to increasing housing in their own villages. And it'll work if we ensure that the rural landowners, the farmers and whatever, get a good price for their land. Now, the average hectare of agricultural land is worth £22,500. But if you give planning permission, that goes to £6.2 million. So as an example, you built a town the size of Howden in my constituency, covers an area of 1.8 square kilometres. If the land of that area was sold at this price, it would be worth over £1 billion. But if we paid half of it to the landowner, that's £500 million, and half of it could be used for developing the services in the town. So you could have better sized houses, you could have cheaper houses, you could have GP centres and community centres and schools, you could have high speed internet. All those things could be paid for out of the surplus arising from the giving the planning permission. That's what we should do. We've done it before. Back in the 30s and the 20s even, we built garden towns and garden villages. That's the way to solve the housing crisis today. This week the government published one of its most controversial pieces of legislation in its programme so far, the Northern Ireland Protocol Bill. The protocol is meant to stop a hard border on the island of Ireland by keeping some EU regulations in Northern Ireland. Nobody wants a hard border, but the current arrangement is coming at a high cost for Northern Ireland. It's being treated differently to the rest of the United Kingdom when it comes to customs and trade. And the bill aims to resolve this issue by doing 4 things. First, it'll set up a green lane and a red lane channels for goods. Green for goods going to Northern Ireland. These don't have to be checked up on because they're basically staying inside the United Kingdom. And red for goods going through Northern Ireland into Ireland. That would help avoid unfair restrictions on basic products going into Northern Ireland. Secondly, the role of the European Court in enforcing the protocol, restoring the primacy of British courts. Third, it'll restore UK control over state aid and VAT in Northern Ireland, giving us the freedom to intervene when necessary. And finally, allow businesses to choose whether they follow UK regulations or EU rules when putting goods on the market in Northern Ireland, boosting trade and making things easier for the individual businesses. Now, these are all sensible proposals which all help to make the protocol work for Northern Ireland and the UK as a whole. But we have to understand that this is not just a piece of legislation, it's also a piece of a negotiation with the DUP, who so far have been blocking the formation of a new Northern Ireland government.
The Assembly has been unable to elect a Speaker today, and the Assembly has been unable to conduct its first business. Therefore, we can proceed no further.
And the EU, who, to be frank, have been quite hard-nosed, not to say pig-headed, about their application of the original withdrawal agreement. The government's got to find a course between these to make this work for the interests of everybody in Northern Ireland, and that's what they're trying to do. Thank you for watching episode 5. If you like it, subscribe, hit like, and look forward to seeing you next week.